The auction of shame. The alien bazaar smelled like rust, oil, and fear. Jace walked slowly through the crowd. He was the only human here. Around him, aliens of all kinds shouted, bargained, and traded things. Some traded weapons, others sold strange, fruits or old tech. But on the far side of the market, something darker waited. Cages. Tall iron cages lined the shadowed area, and inside them were people. Alien slaves, silent and broken. Jace didn't want to be here. He had come to this part of the galaxy on a diplomatic mission. The local leaders insisted on showing him the market, and he followed, trying not to show his disgust. "Ah, Commander Jace," one of the alien nobles said, his voice full of pride. "Today we honor you. A gift has been chosen for you. A rare one." Jace frowned. "I don't need a gift. But this one is special," the noble said, waving his long fingers. "She is young, untrained, untouched. Yours to shape." A platform rose in the center of the cages. The crowd quieted. Chains clanked. 2 guards dragged a small alien girl onto the stage. She looked like she barely stood 4 feet tall, with soft gray skin and glowing violet eyes. Her wrists and ankles were bound with iron cuffs. Her hair, pale and tangled, hung over her face. She didn't cry. She didn't speak. She just stood there, trembling. The crowd began to whisper, "She's useless. She won't last a week. Still, her kind is rare. Psychic blood, they say. Let's see if the human will take her." Jace's jaw tightened. The girl's arms were thin as sticks. A bruise covered half her face. Someone had hurt her, many times. And now they were calling her a gift. The announcer spoke loudly. "From the ashes of the shattered moons, we present a living gem, one who can be shaped, broken, or bonded. A fine reward for a human hero." The crowd clapped. Jace didn't move. The girl lifted her head slowly and looked straight at him. Her eyes didn't show anger or fear. They showed confusion and the smallest spark of hope. Jace stepped forward. "I'll take her," he said, his voice steady. The noble beside him smiled. "Excellent choice, but not as a slave," Jace said, cutting him off. "I'm buying her freedom." The crowd went silent. "What?" the announcer asked, blinking. "I said she's not property. She's a person, and I'm setting her free." Gasps filled the air. Some aliens laughed nervously. Others looked angry. "You can't do that," the noble hissed. "It is an insult to our gift." Jace looked at him calmly. "Then be insulted." He pulled out a gold chip and tossed it onto the stage. "That's triple the market value. Cut her chains." The guards hesitated. The announcer looked at the noble. The noble gave a sharp nod. The chains were removed. The girl's arms dropped to her sides. She looked up at Jace again. He reached out a hand. She stared at it for a long time. Then, slowly, she took it. Jace led her away from the platform. No one stopped him. No one spoke. Only whispers followed behind. A human chose kindness? He's mad. She won't last with him. She doesn't even speak. But as they walked out of the cage area, the girl said something so soft Jace almost didn't hear it. "Why?" He looked down at her. "Because no one should live in chains," he said. "Not you. Not anyone." She didn't reply, but her fingers held his a little tighter. That night, in the small guest room aboard Jace's ship, the girl sat quietly in the corner. She didn't eat much. She didn't sleep. She just watched him. Jace placed a warm blanket near her and knelt down. "I don't know your name," he said softly, "but I promise you something. No one will ever hurt you again." Her eyes shimmered for a second. Then she looked down and whispered, "Luma." Jace smiled. "Luma. That's a good name." He left her to rest. Outside the room, he let out a long breath. He didn't know what would come next. He didn't know why he felt the need to protect her, but something deep inside told him this girl, this small, silent alien, was going to change everything, and somewhere in the dark parts of the galaxy, eyes were already watching. Not a slave, just a child. The ship drifted quietly through the black silence of space. Inside, Jace sat alone at the edge of his bunk, his hands clasped together. The room was dim. Only the hum of the engine and the soft flicker of a nearby console filled the silence. Behind the closed door, the alien girl, Luma, rested on a bed she hadn't touched. He hadn't heard a sound from her in hours. She had given her name and then gone quiet again. No crying, no questions, no anger. Just silence. Jace wasn't used to this. He had seen war. He had seen pain, fear, betrayal. But never this. Never a child so still, so hollow, as if the soul inside had gone into hiding. What had they done to her? He stood up and walked to the door. It opened with a soft hiss. Inside, Luma sat in the corner of the bed, legs pulled up to her chest. She wore a clean, soft tunic now. Her skin looked a little better after a bath. But her eyes, they were still far away. She didn't move when he entered. "I brought something," he said gently, holding out a small metal box. She didn't react. Jace sat on the floor near her and opened the box. Inside were tiny wrapped food bars, sweet, soft, easy to chew. He peeled one open and placed it between them. "You don't have to eat if you don't want to, but I'll just leave it here." Still no answer. He waited. 5 minutes passed. 10. Finally, her small fingers reached out. She picked up the food, sniffed it, and took a tiny bite. It was the first thing she'd eaten since he freed her. Jace smiled, but he didn't say anything. He knew better than to push too fast. Then her voice, barely a whisper, broke the silence. "You don't want me?" The words hit him like a punch to the chest. He turned toward her. "Want you?" She kept her eyes down. To use me like the others. I know how to stay quiet. I don't fight. I can clean. I learn fast." Jace's throat tightened. "Luma, no. I don't want any of that. I don't want a servant or a slave." She looked up. Her violet eyes were confused. "Then, what am I?" "You're a child," he said softly. "And you're safe now." Luma blinked slowly, as if she didn't understand the word safe. She opened her mouth. Then, shut it again. Her fingers clutched the blanket. "You don't have to do anything," Jace added. "Just rest, eat when you're hungry, talk if you want. That's all." She didn't answer. But when he stood up and walked to the door, her voice came again. "Can I stay in this room?" He nodded. "It's yours." As the door closed behind him, Jace didn't see her whisper one word under her breath. "Mine." Hours passed. Then came the dream. Luma tossed and turned, sweat on her face. She whimpered. In the dream, she was back in the cage. Cold. Alone. A shadow loomed over her, long fingers reaching for her again. She tried to scream, but no sound came. Suddenly, light. A white mark burned across her arm, glowing with strange warmth. She woke up gasping. The room was dark. But the mark, now real, still glowed faintly on her skin, a symbol she had never seen before. Her people had always whispered about soul marks, bonds created by emotion, not blood. But they were just old stories, right? She stepped off the bed and tiptoed to the mirror. The mark shimmered, pulsing with soft energy. It wasn't just from her. It came from him. The next morning, Jace was in the cockpit reviewing ship logs when a soft noise behind him made him turn. Luma stood there. Her feet were bare. She had wrapped the blanket around her like a cloak. Her eyes didn't have fear in them now. Just something else. Confusion. Curiosity. Maybe trust? "Good morning," he said with a gentle smile. She said nothing, but walked forward and sat beside him on the floor. He glanced at her arm. "You had a bad dream?" She nodded slowly. "I used to have those too," he said. "After the war." "You were in a cage too?" she asked. In a way, Jace answered. Not a metal one, but I couldn't sleep, couldn't feel normal, couldn't trust. They sat in silence for a while. Then Luma did something unexpected. She reached out and placed her small hand over his. I don't want to go back, she said. Ever. You won't, he promised. But they'll come, she whispered. They'll try. Jace looked at her closely. What do you mean? She hesitated. They're watching. I feel them. The ones who bought me before. I ran away once. They brought me back. But this time, her voice trembled. This time, they'll kill you. Jace stood slowly and moved to the controls. How would they know where we are? Luma didn't answer with words. Instead, she turned her palm upward and revealed a glowing crystal embedded just under her skin. It flickered like a heartbeat. A tracker, Jace muttered. Luma's voice was cold. They're coming. Alien whispers in the dark space was silent. Too silent. Jace leaned back in the pilot's chair, eyes locked on the glowing star map. His ship floated quietly through Sector 5C, far from known space lanes. It should have been safe. Should have been quiet, but something felt wrong. Behind him, Luma lay asleep on the small couch wrapped in a blanket. She had finally eaten a full meal. Her voice had gotten a little stronger. She even smiled once when the onboard AI spoke to her in a silly voice. But that smile was gone now. She had told him they were coming, that she could feel them. That crystal in her palm, it pulsed like a heartbeat, faint but steady. I removed the tracker, Jace muttered to himself. He had cut the small crystal out of her hand 2 days ago, used a medkit, cleaned the wound, and tossed the device out of the airlock. So why did her eyes still glow when she closed them? Why did her body twitch in her sleep, like she was speaking to someone else? Then it happened, a sound. Faint. Whispers, Jace. Froze. He turned his head toward the back of the ship. The whispers weren't coming from the speaker system. They were coming from Luma. He stood up slowly and approached her. Luma's lips moved as she slept. Her breathing was deep, calm. But her skin glowed slightly now, just like before. The strange mark on her arm, the soul mark, shimmered brighter than ever. Jace knelt beside her. Luma? She didn't answer, but her voice kept speaking, in a language he didn't understand. It was soft and musical, but also chilling, like a forgotten prayer. Then suddenly her eyes snapped open. Bright violet. She stared straight ahead. Through him. Not at him. Luma? He said louder. She blinked once, twice. Then she sat up and gasped. I saw them, she whispered. I saw. Where they are. Jace helped her sit up. Who? Your people? She nodded, but her hands were shaking. They're alive, hidden, but they're afraid and they're dying. I called them. You reached them? He asked. Not fully, she said. But I opened something, a path, a link, and they felt me. He stared at her. You have psychic powers? She looked down. All my kind do, but mine were weak, that's why they threw me away. Jace frowned. Threw you away? She nodded. When my powers didn't awaken, they sold me. Said I was broken, but now, something's different. She held up her marked arm. I think it's you. Jace blinked. Me? I was nothing before, no voice, no strength. But since you touched me, since you said I was family, this mark appeared, and my power grew. He didn't know what to say. Then the ship's warning alarm beeped. Jace turned to the control panel and saw it. A single black dot on the scanner. Small. Silent. No signal. Then another, and another. Ships, he muttered. Unmarked. No ID. No transmission. They found us, Luma said softly. But not from the tracker, from me. I was too loud. Jace looked at her. You're saying they followed your voice, in their minds? She nodded slowly. They were trained to hunt people like me. I touched the wrong mind. The dots on the screen were closer now. Then the ship lights flickered. A wave of static rushed through the air. The oxygen sensors glitched. A soft, high-pitched tone filled the ship. They're trying to break. Through my mind, Luma said, holding her head. They're trying to take me back. Jace stood fast. You're not going anywhere. She shook, breathing hard. If they get in, they'll take control. Make me walk to them. I can't stop it for long. Jace gritted his teeth. He grabbed his toolkit and rushed to a locked compartment. Inside was a strange, outdated helmet, an old relic from his days in the war. A neural disruptor, illegal now, dangerous even. He returned and placed it gently on Luma's head. What is this? She asked, trembling. It'll block your signal, he said. Just trust me. He activated it. Luma screamed for a second, then fell silent. Her breathing slowed. Her body calmed. The dots on the scanner stopped. Jace held his breath. Then, one of the dots vanished, then the other two. He stared in disbelief. They're gone? Luma opened her eyes slowly. They couldn't find me anymore, she whispered. You hid me. She looked at him with awe. You did what none of my kind could ever do. I protected you, Jace said. That's what family does. Her eyes filled with tears, but not from pain, from something new. Hope. That night, the stars outside seemed quieter. But Jace knew the peace wouldn't last. They were being hunted. And now he knew that Luma wasn't just a broken alien girl. She was something more, something powerful, and he had just painted a target on his back by protecting her. But Jace didn't care. He would protect her with his life, even if it meant war. The hunter ships arrived. The calm didn't last long. 3 days had passed since Luma reached out with her mind and accidentally called the wrong ones. Jace had taken the ship far out, beyond mapped systems, deep into dead space where no beacons reached and stars burned faint and lonely. Every day he checked the scanners. Every hour he watched for shadows. But in his gut, he knew it was only a matter of time. That night, Luma stood by the window, looking out at the stars. The neural helmet lay on the table. She had stopped wearing it since the incident. Jace didn't force her to. He wanted her to feel free, even if freedom came with risk. Do you miss them? He asked from across the room. Luma nodded, eyes still on the stars. I miss the idea of them. I don't remember their faces. Just songs, soft ones. My mother used to hum when I was little. Jace walked over and stood beside her. What happened to her? She died when the hunters came the first time, she said softly. She tried to hide me, said my gift would be dangerous in the wrong hands. And the others? They were scattered, some captured, some killed. A few ran. That's why I reached out, to find them again. Jace sighed. And now the wrong ones know you're alive. Luma turned to him. They don't just want me. They want what I carry. What do you mean? She lifted her sleeve and revealed the glowing mark again, the soul mark. Only now it looked different, bigger, more detailed. Since you said I'm your family, this mark has grown. It links me to you. It also changed me. I can feel things now. I can see more. Jace stared. You think they want that connection? I think it's something ancient, she whispered. Something lost and dangerous. Before Jace could reply, the ship alarm blared. He rushed to the cockpit. 3 dots had appeared on the radar, silent, dark, unregistered. They weren't broadcasting any ID. No greetings, no warnings, just closing in. Jace's fingers flew across the console. He activated the stealth shield, dimmed all lights, and cut the engines to a silent float. They found us anyway, he muttered. Luma stood in the doorway behind him, eyes wide. They're called hunter ships. They don't need signals. They follow psychic trails. But I thought we did, she said. But I had a dream last night. I saw them, and I screamed. Jace froze. You screamed in your mind? She nodded slowly. I didn't mean to. I thought I was alone. I forgot that dreams can reach too. Jace leaned back in his seat. Then we're out of time. The black ships drew closer. Sleek, like blades in space. No windows, no lights. Just death. Suddenly a cold voice came through the comms. It wasn't human, it wasn't even a real voice. It was inside Jace's head, burning and sharp. Human. Give us the girl, and walk away. You are nothing. She is not yours. Jace gritted his teeth. Get out of my head. The voice laughed. Cold. Empty. You bonded with a dying bloodline. Foolish. Her kind is cursed. She will burn everything you love. Jace slammed the comms off. No deal, he muttered. Are we going to fight? Luma asked. Jace turned to her. If I have to, but we're outgunned. They're faster, stronger, better equipped. Then let me help, she said. You're just a kid, Luma. She stepped forward. No, I'm more now. You saw it. You felt it. Her hand brushed his. For a second, Jace felt a shock of warmth, like sunlight rushing through his blood. The mark on her arm flickered, and then burned onto his wrist. He gasped. You marked me? She nodded. We are fully bonded now. That means I can shield you. Shield me from what? From them. Outside, the hunter ships made their move. 3 beams of silent red light burst from the ships, slicing through space. They weren't aiming to destroy. They were mining, carving tunnels of gravity to trap the ship. Jace shouted, grabbing the controls. They're trying to lock us in place. Luma closed her eyes. Suddenly, the stars outside bent and twisted. Light shimmered around the ship like water. The air inside felt electric. What are you doing? Jace asked. I'm hiding us in thought, Luma said. In a space between thinking and dreaming. Jace blinked. What does that even mean? Luma opened her eyes. They can't see thoughts they don't understand. You're a soldier. You've seen fear, pain, loss. So I pulled those memories and wrapped the ship in them. That's terrifying. It's working. The hunter ships froze mid-flight. For a moment, all 3 ships stopped, spinning, scanning. Then one of them fired blindly. A pulse wave rocked the ship. Alarms flared. The engines stuttered. We can't hold them off forever, Jace said. We need a way out. Luma stepped forward and placed her hand on the console. It glowed under her fingers. There's one place they won't follow, she said. Where? Home. Your home? Yes. The place they fear, the place they burned, but didn't finish. I can guide us. Jace looked at her. It could be a trap. I know, she said. But if we stay here, they'll break through. He didn't hesitate. Set the course. Luma closed her eyes. A glowing map bloomed over the console, drawn not from data, but from memory. A forgotten star, a ruined moon, and a silence that no scanner could find. Jace locked in the coordinates and hit the drive. The ship leapt into hyperspace. Behind them, the hunter ships H. The Blood Oath. The stars twisted into lines as Jace's ship tore through hyperspace. Behind them, the hunter ships had vanished, but only for now. Jace stood silently in the cockpit, watching the glowing path ahead. He didn't speak. He didn't blink. His wrist still burned from where the soul mark had appeared, Luma's mark. Beside him, Luma sat with her legs tucked beneath her, eyes half closed. She was guiding them, not through charts or data, but through something older, something buried in her blood and bones. You said we're going to your home, Jace said quietly. Luma nodded. I thought your world was destroyed. It was, she replied. But something remains. Something sacred. A place they fear. Jace frowned. What is it? Luma hesitated. A chamber, built before the stars even had names. My people called it Valon's heart. It's where the first bond was ever made between a human and one of us. Jace blinked. You mean this bond, between you and me? It's not new? No, Luma said. It's ancient, lost, forbidden. The ship slowed as they exited hyperspace. Ahead lay a dead star collapsed long ago. Its light barely touched the jagged rocks floating around it. Broken moons circled like ghosts. In the center, a giant crater glowed faintly. That's it, Luma whispered. That's where it waits. The ship descended. The moment they landed, the air grew heavy. As Jay stepped out with Luma, his boots touched black stone covered in strange symbols. The wind whispered, no sound, yet still it spoke. He couldn't understand the words, but they felt old, angry, watching. Luma led him down a path of broken statues and ancient doors, until they reached a stone wall carved with glowing silver veins. This is the gate, she said. To what? Jace asked. To the blood oath. Before he could ask more, she placed her palm on the stone. It shimmered. Then slowly the wall opened, revealing a circular chamber glowing with blue fire along the walls. In the center, a floating pedestal made of crystal pulsed with a soft heartbeat. Jace stepped forward. What is this place? Luma walked to the pedestal and placed her hand on it. It remembers everyone who has made the bond. There aren't many. But when one is made, truly made, the heart calls them here. Jace felt his mark burn again. You brought me here because of the mark? No, Luma said. The mark brought you here. Suddenly, the crystal pedestal pulsed with light, and Jace felt something enter him. Images flooded his mind. A human warrior bleeding in battle, reaching for a dying alien girl. He shielded her with his body. She held him glowing with light, and the same mark was born. A bond formed not from blood, but from choice, from sacrifice. Jace fell to one knee, shaking. What is this? He gasped. The truth, Luma said. The bond between our kinds wasn't always slavery. It was once sacred. It was once love. Jace stared at her. And now, they fear it. The hunters, the lords, the empires. Because if the bond returns, their power breaks. Before he could respond, the chamber shook. Dust fell from the ceiling. Then, a voice. Cold. Inside his mind again. You entered the forbidden chamber. Foolish. Now the heart will consume you. Jace grabbed his head. They found us. Luma's eyes widened. They followed the bond's call. It's too strong here. A panel of the wall exploded outward. Black-cloaked figures stepped into the light. They weren't soldiers. They were something worse. Hunters. Tall, silent, masked. Their armor rippled like smoke. Their eyes glowed white. One of them stepped forward. Give her to us, the lead hunter said in a voice that sounded like ice cracking. She belongs with her kind. She belongs with me, Jace said, stepping in front of Luma. She is cursed. You are infected. Step aside, and we'll make your death painless. Jace didn't move. The hunter raised a hand, and Jace was flung backward into the wall, hard. Blood spilled from his mouth. Luma screamed. She ran to him, dropping beside him. He tried to sit up, but pain crushed his chest. They can't take you, he gasped. Luma turned, standing between him and the hunters. Her eyes blazed like stars. You don't understand, she said. He made the oath. He bled for me, and now I answer it. The ground shook. The chamber lit up as the heart responded to her voice. Suddenly, the mark on Jace's arm burned brighter. His blood began to glow. Luma knelt beside him, took his hand, and whispered ancient words. A warm light wrapped around them, both. The hunters staggered back, shielding their eyes. What are you doing? Jace asked weakly. I'm finishing the bond, Luma said. I give back what you gave. I offer my strength, my soul, my power. She leaned forward and pressed her forehead to his. The mark pulsed and exploded. A wave of pure light shot outward from their bodies, blasting through the chamber like a storm. The hunters screamed as the energy hit them. Their armor cracked. Their forms twisted and turned to ash. Silence followed. Only Jace and Luma remained, floating slightly above the ground, glowing together. The chamber whispered again, but this time it was warm, peaceful, welcoming. They landed softly. Jace blinked. He felt whole stronger, like fire lived in his bones. What just happened? He whispered. Luma smiled through tears. You took the oath when you saved me. Now I've answered it. We are soul-bound, not as master and servant, not as protector and child, but as equals, as family. Jace stared at her. You gave me your soul, he said. You gave me your life, she replied. This is how we say thank you. Outside stars blinked. The hunters were gone, for now, but they would return. Only now. Jace and Luma weren't running anymore. They were rising. Together. Return of the Forgotten Ones. The chamber of the heart lay quiet now. The glowing pedestal dimmed. The walls stopped humming. Only the soft breaths of Jace and Luma filled the ancient air. Jace stood slowly, his body aching but alive. More than alive, different. He felt stronger, faster, more focused. He could feel Luma's emotions, inside his chest like a second heartbeat. Not words, just truth, fear, hope, gratitude. And something new, power. The soul bond had changed him, changed them both. Luma walked to the far end of the chamber where carvings lined the wall. She traced the symbols with her fingers. These are names, she whispered. Jace stepped beside her. Whose? The Forgotten Ones, she said. My ancestors, survivors, those who ran, those who hid, and those who fought back. She pointed to one name glowing softly in blue. It lit up when we finished the bond, she said. That means someone answered, someone heard. Jace blinked. You're saying your people are still out there? Yes, Luma said, scattered, in hiding, waiting for a sign. And now they know, Jace said. They do, she whispered. And they're coming. Hours passed. They returned to the ship, still resting at the crater's edge. Jace activated the sensors. No signs of hunters, no signs of life. But then, a blip. Faint. Followed by another, then 10, then 30. The radar began to fill with soft blue dots, fast, quiet, but not hostile. Jace stared in disbelief. That's a fleet. Luma leaned in, her breath caught in her throat. It's them, she said. It's the ones who vanished. The ships weren't sleek or new. Most were patched together, old and rusted. Their engines hummed unevenly, but they moved with purpose. The first ship stopped just outside the crater. A message came through, voice only. To the bonded human. You are seen. We come not in anger. We come to listen, Jace replied slowly. I'm not your enemy. You hold the mark. You hold her hand. That is enough. Permission to board? Jace looked at Luma. She nodded. Granted, he said. A few minutes later, the ship docked with the largest vessel in the fleet. Jace and Luma walked down the boarding ramp into a chamber filled with dim blue light. There, a tall alien woman waited. She stood nearly 7 feet tall, her skin dark silver, her eyes glowing, like Luma's. She wore flowing robes decorated in symbols and memory thread. Her presence filled the room like a storm ready to break. She stepped forward. You are the human who took the oath, she asked. Jace nodded. I didn't understand it then, but I do now. And you still protect her? She asked, glancing at Luma. With everything I have, he said. The woman smiled slowly. Then you are not like the others. Luma stepped forward. Elder Varel, the woman's eyes widened. Child, you survived? I found a friend, Luma said, taking Jace's hand. He gave me a name, a home. The elder knelt before her. Then the prophecy has begun. Jace blinked. What prophecy? Elder Varel stood. Long ago it was said that the last of the soul-bonded would vanish into silence. But one day when the stars forgot their own names, a human heart would burn bright enough to awaken us again. She turned to face a holographic map. It showed systems scarred by war, planets marked with fire. Red zones glowed everywhere. The hunters destroyed our cities. They scattered our families. But they never killed our bond. She looked back at Jace. You've made them fear what they thought was extinct. But I didn't do it alone, Jace said. Luma called me family. She trusted me when she had no reason to. The elder smiled. Then maybe it's time we stop running. The next day the fleet met in council. Dozens of voices filled the chamber. Elders, survivors, hidden warriors. Some wanted to flee. Others wanted revenge. Jace stood before them all. I'm not here to lead you, he said, but I will fight beside you. They'll come for you first, one elder said. They always destroy the bonded first. I'm not afraid, Jace said. Luma stood next to him. We've faced them once. We'll face them again. Elder Varel raised her hand for silence. Let it be known, she said, that the oath has returned, the old fire burns again, and with it a chance to stand. The room went quiet. Then a slow chant rose from the elders. One word, Velan. Jace turned to Luma. What does it mean? She smiled. It means hope, but not far away. On the edges of dead space, a massive ship floated in silence. Inside, the High Hunter knelt before a dark altar. His eyes were white with rage. They returned, he hissed. The mark has burned again. A second voice echoed from the shadows. Then we burn it out. This time completely. The High Hunter rose. Send the hounds. Burn every world that carries the blood. And find the human. Alive? The shadow asked. No, the hunter replied. I want him broken. I want her to watch. Back in the fleet, Jace sat with Luma under the soft lights of the ship. Do you think we can win? He asked. Luma leaned her head against his shoulder. I think we already did, she said. Because for the first time, I'm not alone. Jace looked out the window. Stars were gathering, allies were waking, and somewhere in the dark, war was coming. But this time, they wouldn't run. This time, they had family. The man who gave her a name. The stars were no longer silent. Across broken systems and burned-out planets, whispers echoed, of a human who bore the soul mark, and of a girl who once had no name but now stood tall beside him. They had awoken something ancient, something dangerous, something beautiful. But the galaxy had noticed, and the hunters were not finished. Jace stood at the edge of the war room, staring at the glowing map of space. Red signals moved like knives toward their location. 3 fleets, 49 hunter ships. They weren't coming to capture, they were coming to erase. Behind him, Elder Varel spoke softly. They want to make an example of you. I expected that, Jace replied. They think your bond is a disease, she said. A spark that must be crushed before it spreads. Jace looked her in the eye. Then let them try. Luma stood beside him, now wearing ceremonial robes stitched with glowing thread. Her eyes no longer hid behind fear. Her voice no longer trembled. Do you trust me? She asked him quietly. Always, he said. She reached out and took his hand. Their soul marks glowed at the same time. I saw something last night, Luma said. In a dream. Jace waited. I saw you, standing in front of the galaxy. You were bleeding, you were broken, but behind you, the stars changed color, like they were waking up. Jace took a deep breath. Then let's make that dream real. The Allied fleet moved out. Tattered ships filled with survivors, scavenged weapons, and warriors who had hidden for generations. They weren't trained. They weren't ready. But they had something no one else had. They had purpose. And they had the man who gave her a name. The battle began at the edge of a forgotten system. The hunter ships arrived like shadows, silent, cold, absolute. The first wave struck fast, cutting down 3 Allied vessels. Jace's ship trembled from the shockwave. Sparks flew from the console. "Shields at 20, shouted the pilot. Jace gripped the controls. "Hold formation, don't scatter." "We'll be slaughtered," someone yelled. "We're already dead if we run," Jace barked. "Stand. With me." Then, a voice broke through the static. He gave her a name. He gave us a reason. Stand with the human. The fleet tightened their lines. Ships that had fled for years now turned to fight. The hunters began to falter. They weren't used to resistance, but the High Hunter had not yet arrived. Then he came. A massive dreadnought appeared. Dark as space itself, it opened its hangars and released something new. Twisted shapes. Clones. Broken versions of Luma's people, mutated, scarred, and mind-bound. "They copied my kind," Luma whispered, horrified. "They made them hollow." Jace clenched his fists. "Then we set them free." Jace boarded a shuttle with Luma and a small squad. Their target, the heart of the dreadnought, the control room, the brain behind the slaughter. They landed hard, cutting through hunter drones and barriers. Jace bled, twice, but he kept moving, because, behind him, Luma walked like fire, and beside her the Forgotten Ones fought like thunder. Inside the control room, the High Hunter waited. He stood tall, wrapped in black armor. His voice cut through the air. "You ruined everything, human. One kind word, one foolish bond. And now you threaten 1,000 years of order." Jace stepped forward, his blade drawn. "I didn't ruin anything," he said. "I remembered what you tried to erase." The High Hunter raised a hand. "She is not yours, she is ours." Luma spoke now, her voice clear and calm. "I was never yours. I am not property. I am not a tool." The High Hunter laughed. "Then you are nothing." Luma looked to Jace. He nodded once. Then she closed her eyes and placed her hand to the floor. The room lit up. The soul bond between them pulsed outward like a wave. And from the walls, the broken clones, the twisted enslaved ones, froze. Their glowing eyes dimmed. Then, one by one, they knelt. Luma whispered, "You are not lost. I free you." They rose as allies. The High Hunter screamed in rage and charged. Jace met him blade to blade. They clashed, light and darkness exploding around them. The floor cracked. The ceiling shook. Each strike was a war of will, but Jace was only human, and the High Hunter was something else. Jace stumbled, cut across the side. Blood poured from his ribs. He fell to one knee. The High Hunter raised his weapon for the final blow. But before it fell, Luma stepped between them. "No!" she screamed. The soul mark on her body exploded with light, and the High Hunter's body turned to dust. He didn't scream. He didn't burn. He simply vanished, erased by the bond he feared so much. Jace collapsed. Luma caught him. "Stay with me," she begged. "Please." He coughed, blood on his lips. "Did we win?" "Yes," she said, tears running down her face. "We won." He smiled faintly. "Then I don't need anything else." "No," she said, pressing her hands to his wound. "I'm not letting you go." The bond between them shimmered. Then, it healed him, not fully, but enough. Jace gasped, then laughed weakly. "Okay, that's new." Luma laughed too. "You gave me your name," she said. "Now I give you my strength." The battle ended. The hunters fell back. The clones were freed, and the story of the man who gave her a name spread like wildfire, across systems, across species. No longer just a human, he was the bonded one. Months passed. Jace now stood at the edge of a rebuilt city, Luma's people returning from exile. Children laughed. Elders told stories. Ships docked in peace. Luma walked beside him, taller now, glowing with quiet pride. "You could go back to Earth," she said. "I could," he replied, "but Earth has never felt like home." She took his hand. "Then stay, as my family, as our bridge to the stars." He didn't answer with words. He just squeezed her hand gently, and together, they watched a new dawn rise.